It's interesting, isn't it, when you look at different organizations and how they build support,
Yeah.
some seem to just like effortlessly attract these like armies of loyal supporters.
Right.
Their donors are with them for the long haul through good times and bad.
Yeah.
But then there are others that seem to constantly be scrambling for new donations,
Mm-hmm.
struggling to keep people engaged.
Mm.
Ever wonder what the difference is, like what that secret ingredient is?
I think it really comes down to how strong their relationships are with those donors, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're diving into today.
Okay.
It's all about understanding how nonprofits can really build those lasting relationships with their donors.
All right. So we've been looking at some really interesting material for this deep dive.
Yeah.
In particular, this article titled "Never Lose a Donor Again."
Oh, interesting.
And it's full of actionable strategies, not just for, getting people to donate that first time, but for keeping them invested and connected for the long term.
So taking that initial gift and making it into something much, much bigger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess our mission today is to kind of pull out the most crucial strategies from this.
Okay.
The essential things that really any organization, no matter how big or small, can use to make sure that their supporters really feel valued
Yeah.
and connected to the impact that they're making possible.
Because really, at the end of the day, it's that connection that leads to long-term success.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And here's a statistic that I think really highlights why this is so important.
Okay.
For anyone involved in supporting organizations or even just interested in these kinds of things,
Mm-hmm.
a full 70% of first-time donors never give again.
Oh, wow.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah, that's a big number.
70%.
Yeah.
All that effort to inspire someone to make that initial donation,
Right.
and then they disappear.
They don't come back.
They're gone.
Yeah, it really shows that getting that first donation is just the very beginning.
Right.
The real, I guess the real opportunity, the real challenge is taking that initial spark,
Yeah.
and turning it into this lasting flame.
So how do we do that?
Right.
Well, the article talks a lot about the financial side of things,
Okay.
which I think is really important to consider.
Yeah, absolutely.
It points out that keeping a current donor costs just 20 cents for every dollar that you raise,
Oh, wow.
compared to $1.50 to bring in a brand new donor.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's a massive difference
Yeah.
in terms of just the efficiency.
Absolutely. It's like planting a seed, it takes a lot of resources to find that good soil
Right.
and nurture that little seedling,
Mm-hmm.
But once that plant is established, it takes a lot less effort to keep it going and have it produce more.
It's the same idea, right? You've already done the hard work of getting that first donation.
Yeah, exactly. So investing in retention is smart. It's not just good stewardship. It's economically sound.
And when you think about it, the article says that a 10% increase in donor retention can lead to a 200% boost in revenue.
Wow.
That's incredible.
It really puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe more organizations should be focusing on this.
Well, and the trend is actually kind of concerning.
Oh.
The article says that new donor retention rates have been falling.
Oh.
And in the first quarter of 2024, they hit a low of just 7.2%.
Hmm.
That's a lot of potential support just vanishing.
Yeah, just slipping away.
So how do we turn this around?
Right.
Well, the article really stresses the importance of making donors feel connected,
Mm-hmm.
and personalization is a big part of that.
It's so important. I mean, think about it. Think about the messages that you get. How often do you open those generic emails? The ones that are just like one size fits all. I mean,
Yeah.
They don't really resonate, do they?
No, they don't.
And the article says that something like 91% of donors feel uninspired by that kind of impersonal communication.
Yeah.
It basically says, hey, you're just a name on a list to us.
A number.
Yeah.
Exactly. It doesn't make you feel like your contribution matters.
Right.
So what's a better way to approach this?
So the article suggests, instead of that broad approach, try to group donors based on their giving patterns.
Okay.
So look at things like How often do they donate?
Mm.
What's the typical size of their gift?
Oh.
Even, think about their age.
Right.
Do they volunteer their time?
Yeah.
Do they come to your events?
That makes sense. Segment them out a little bit.
Exactly. And this way, you can make your communications much more targeted, much more meaningful.
Yeah, because somebody who's giving a small amount every single month probably has different motivations and expectations
Yeah.
than someone who maybe gives a larger amount once a year during a certain campaign or something.
Right, exactly. And there's a great quote in here from Dave Martin at Charity Engine.
Yeah.
And he says, very few donors are satisfied with just getting these generic messages.
Right.
They need to feel seen. They need to feel understood.
Yeah.
And if they don't, they might not see a good reason to keep supporting you.
Right. It's the human element. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, let's get practical here. What is this personalized communication? What does it actually look like in practice?
Okay, so it could be something really simple. Like, for example, you could reference their past support.
Okay.
Mention a specific project they helped fund.
Right.
Or just mention the last time they gave.
Okay.
You could also make sure you're using their preferred way of communicating with them.
Right. Email versus social media versus, yeah.
Right, exactly. Do they prefer emails or do they respond better on social media?
Right.
You could also highlight the impact of the specific programs that they've chosen to support.
Yeah.
That shows that you're paying attention to what matters to them.
That makes sense.
And it's interesting, the article mentions that for wealthier donors, that personal connection is a really big driver.
Yeah.
It actually influences over 44% of their giving decisions.
That makes sense, especially for folks who have the ability to make a really large impact.
Right, yeah.
So that
Yeah.
demonstrating that their generosity is actually doing something, that's just as important as that personalized communication.
Absolutely. I mean, the tailored messaging is only part of it.
Yeah.
Donors want to see the results.
Right.
The article talks about using visuals
Okay.
to clearly illustrate where those funds are going. So you could use a nice infographic or a short video. A lot of times that can convey the impact much better than, pages and pages of text.
So it's not just about showing where the money goes,
Yeah.
but about what it's actually achieving.
Exactly. You want to highlight, specific program outcomes.
Right.
Use measurable metrics.
Okay.
What difference has this made? How many lives have been touched?
Yeah.
Having those numbers, those quantifiable results, makes it much more concrete.
Yeah, it takes that abstract, oh, we're doing good,
Yeah,
and actually puts some numbers and some faces to it.
exactly. And the article also talks about using more inclusive language.
Okay.
So instead of just talking about what the organization did, frame it in terms of, together we achieved this,
Yeah.
or thanks to your support, we were able to.
Yeah, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, it links the donor directly to the positive outcomes.
It makes them feel like they're a part of the team.
Exactly. They're not just somebody on the sidelines,
Right. So we've talked about making donors feel valued. We've talked about showing them the tangible results.
Yeah.
But the article also mentions something else. The power of just saying thank you,
Oh, yeah.
but doing it in a strategic way.
Right. It's not just about saying thank you. It's about, the timing and the sincerity.
Yeah.
That's really important. And there's a really interesting statistic in the article.
Yep.
Donors who get a thank you within 48 hours are 4 times more likely to give again.
4 times more likely.
4 times.
Wow.
Yeah. It shows how impactful it can be to express gratitude quickly.
Yeah, that's a big incentive to prioritize those thank yous.
Absolutely.
And then the article also suggests creating like formal donor recognition levels.
Okay.
What's the thought behind that?
Well, it's a way to acknowledge different levels of commitment. Publicly, thank them.
Right.
But it could also be a way to encourage people to give more. So you could set up tiers,
Okay.
maybe something like friend,
Yeah.
partner, advocate, and champion.
Right, with increasing benefits at each level.
Exactly.
Huh.
So, a friend might get a personalized thank you note,
Right.
but a champion might get an exclusive impact report,
I see.
something like that.
So it's like you're building like this community of supporters,
Right.
and as they become more involved,
Mhm.
they get more recognition and a deeper connection.
Exactly. And beyond those formal levels, the article also says it's important to celebrate individual milestones.
Okay.
So keep track of things like, donation anniversaries,
Right.
or maybe they hit a certain giving milestone,
Mm-hmm.
even their birthdays,
Oh,
or if they're involved in volunteering.
right.
Reaching out with a personal touch on those special occasions can really, strengthen those bonds.
So it's like a handwritten card.
Exactly, yeah.
Or a message that talks about the specific impact of a donation of a certain amount.
Right. For example, the article says, you could say something like, $100 can provide vaccinations for 2 puppies.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that.
Makes it very real.
Exactly. It makes it much more personal and meaningful.
And, one thing that I think is really cool is offering donors, exclusive access to certain events or information.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I feel like that's a great way to cultivate deeper appreciation.
Absolutely. Give your loyal supporters a look behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a virtual event
Right.
or a small group tour of your facilities,
Yeah.
or even just a briefing with your leadership team.
Right.
Let them see firsthand the impact of their contributions.
Mhm.
That gives them a much stronger sense of, belonging and feeling valued.
Yeah. So we've talked about making donors feel valued.
Yeah.
We've talked about showing them results.
Mhm.
We've talked about expressing gratitude.
Right.
But what about just the practical aspects of giving itself?
Oh, yeah, that's important too.
That's right.
Yeah.
The article talks about simplifying that whole donation process.
It's crucial. I mean, any hurdles or complexities in that process can really be a turnoff, especially if you're trying to encourage people to give again and again.
Right.
If it's a pain, they're just going to give up.
They're going to go somewhere else.
Exactly.
What are some key ways that organizations can streamline that experience?
Well, first of all, you have to offer a variety of payment options. Credit cards, debit cards, those are standard. But you should also offer things like ACH or e-checks.
Okay.
Those often have lower processing fees.
Right.
You could also offer mobile payments for people who are on the go.
Mm-hmm.
And even text to give, for quick donations during events or emergencies.
Oh, yeah.
The idea is to cater to all the different ways people like to give.
So many options these days.
Exactly. And the article really stresses that you should keep your donation forms right on your website.
Okay.
Don't send people off to some third-party site they've never heard of.
Right. Yeah.
That builds trust.
Makes sense.
And it reduces the chances of them abandoning the process.
You want it to be as seamless as possible.
Exactly.
Make it easy for people to give.
Yeah.
Now, another thing the article really focuses on is the loyalty of monthly donors.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
The numbers are really impressive.
Okay.
Monthly donor retention rates can be as high as 90%.
Wow.
Compare that to the 46% retention rate for one-time donors.
Huge difference.
Huge difference. And monthly givers are also much more likely to include you in their long-term estate planning, through legacy gifts.
Right. So the consistent, predictable support, that can be so transformative for a nonprofit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you stability, lets you plan for the future.
So what are some essential things that organizations should be doing to support and encourage that kind of monthly giving?
The article says, first of all, make sure you have automated payment processing.
Right.
Ideally, something that's integrated with your donor management system.
Okay.
So it's easy for both the donor and the organization.
Mm-hmm.
You should also have proactive notifications.
Okay.
So if a credit card is about to expire,
Right.
or if a payment fails,
Yeah.
the donor gets notified right away.
So that there's not an interruption in the giving.
Exactly. And you should offer user-friendly self-service portals
Okay.
that lets donors manage their recurring gifts on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And use account updater tools.
Account updater tools. Okay.
These tools can automatically update card information if it changes, so you don't have to worry about, those lapses in giving.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
So many different tools out there these days.
there are.
And it also mentions highlighting the specific impact of different monthly donation amounts.
Right, yeah. Give people specific examples of what their contribution can achieve.
Sure.
So, for instance, you could explain that $25 a month can provide daily meals for a senior citizen who's struggling,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
or that $100 a month can fund educational resources for a child.
Right.
That makes it much more concrete,
It does.
and it gives donors the power to choose a level that fits, their budget and their passions.
Now, managing all of this information,
Yeah.
Tracking preferences, personalizing communications, it seems like it could get pretty overwhelming pretty fast.
Oh, it can.
The article mentions a platform called Help You Sponsor.
Yeah.
What role do those kinds of tools play in all of this?
Well, these platforms are specifically designed to make donor management easier.
Okay.
And, to help you build those lasting relationships.
Okay.
So Help You Sponsor, as an example, it gives you one central system for all your donor data. So you have their giving history, their communication preferences, any interactions they've had with your organization, recurring donations, engagement metrics, key milestones.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is, and it's important to have it all in one place.
Yeah.
And, organizations using this platform have managed over $19 million in donations.
Wow.
So that shows you the scale and how much these tools are needed.
So it's about having a complete picture of each donor in one place.
Right, exactly. And the article also mentions the power of automation within these systems.
Okay, yeah.
Automation is key to delivering the right message at the right time consistently.
Right.
So these platforms, like Help You Sponsor, can automate personalized impact reports.
Okay.
They can send thank you notes within that critical 48-hour window.
Right.
They can trigger anniversary messages,
Hmm.
and they can send out relevant program updates.
Yeah.
All tailored to the individual donor.
That makes it so much easier for the staff, too.
Absolutely. You don't want your staff to be overwhelmed,
Right, right. And it sounds like these tools can even help you identify potential problems before they get too big.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They can provide real-time data and alerts.
Okay.
So let's say a donor starts giving less frequently,
Okay.
or the amount goes down, or maybe a recurring payment fails,
Yeah.
or they're just not engaging with your communications as much.
Right.
These platforms can flag that for you.
So you can reach out,
Exactly.
proactively address the issue before they completely disconnect.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's like you're getting almost like a warning system.
Kinda, yeah.
So as we wrap up here, what are the absolute essential principles for building these long-term relationships with donors?
Well, the article boils it down to a few key things.
Okay.
First, quick and personalized acknowledgement.
Right.
Within 48 hours of a gift.
Got it.
Second, showing them the impact of their generosity.
Okay.
So regular, tailored updates.
Right.
And then staying connected with them. So communication, engagement opportunities.
Got it.
And then finally making it easy for them to give. So automation, different options.
So many different things.
It's all about making your donors feel valued,
Yeah.
making sure they're informed,
Mm.
and helping them feel connected to the mission.
Right.
And the article even has this great example of an organization called KidWorks in California.
Okay.
They've achieved a 97% donor retention rate.
Wow, 97%.
97%.
That's incredible.
Yeah, they really prioritize unique and engaging experiences for their supporters.
That really shows what's possible
Yeah,
when you put these strategies into action.
It proves that by really trying to understand your donors, communicating with them in a way that resonates with them, and making it easy for them to support your work, you can turn, what might just be a one-time donation into a real partnership.
Right, and ensure that your mission can continue to grow.
Exactly.
So to wrap up this deep dive, I think it's clear that building these lasting donor relationships, it's not just a nice to have.
No.
It's essential.
It's critical.
It's absolutely fundamental to the long-term health and impact of any nonprofit.
Yeah, and it all comes down to appreciation.
Right.
Making those donors feel appreciated, making sure they understand the difference they're making, and helping them feel connected to what you do.
And it's really about moving beyond just processing donations.
Yes.
And actually building like genuine partnerships
Exactly.
with the people who are making your mission possible.
Yeah.
So I want to leave you with this thought.
Okay.
Thinking about everything that we've talked about today, what's one small but meaningful change that you could implement today?
Yeah.
Either in your own interactions with organizations that you support,
Right.
or within an organization that you're involved with. Something that could strengthen those vital connections and ultimately lead to more good work getting done.
Right. I love that.
Because often it's those small, consistent actions, those thoughtful strategies that end up having the biggest impact in the long run.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well said.
Thanks for joining me for this deep dive.
Yeah, this was great.
I think it was really informative.
Yeah, a lot to think about.
Yeah.
A lot to think about.
All right.